Stand up right now. Feet together, knees locked, arms at your sides. Don't move. Don't shift your weight. Don't bend your knees. Feels harmless, right? It's the least physically demanding thing a human body can do. No running, no lifting, no strain, just standing. But keep that position for 15, 20 minutes, and something starts happening inside your legs that most people have never heard of. And in the worst cases, in the wrong conditions, standing completely still is exactly what makes people collapse, sometimes fatally. This is the story of venous pooling, a soldier fainting mid-parade, a fighter pilot's blood trying to escape his brain, and why the safest thing you can do while standing still is to stop standing still. Your heart pumps blood down into your legs easily. Gravity does half the work for it. The problem is the return trip. Blood has to travel back up, against gravity, through your veins all the way to your heart. Your heart alone isn't strong enough to do that efficiently on its own. So your body cheats. Every time you take a step, the muscles in your calves contract and squeeze the veins running through them. Those veins are lined with one-way valves, so every squeeze pushes a slug of blood upward, and the valves stop it from sliding back down. This is called the skeletal muscle pump. Physiologists sometimes call it your second heart because without it, your circulatory system genuinely struggles to bring blood back from your legs. Walking works this pump constantly. Standing still turns it off completely. The moment you stop moving your legs, gravity takes over uncontested. Blood drains downward into your calves and feet and simply sits there. Studies on prolonged standing have measured as much as 10 to 20% of your total blood volume shifting down into your legs within just a few minutes of staying still. That blood isn't circulating anymore. It's pooling. Your veins in your lower legs stretch to hold it, and the volume of blood actually available to circulate around the rest of your body, including your brain, starts to shrink. Your body notices almost immediately. Your heart rate creeps up, trying to compensate by pumping faster. Your blood vessels elsewhere start to constrict, trying to keep pressure up. For a while, it works. And then, for some people, it stops working. This isn't a theoretical scenario. It has a name in military medicine: parade ground syncope. Every year in armies around the world, soldiers standing at rigid attention for long ceremonies simply drop. It follows an almost identical pattern every time. A soldier stands locked at attention, legs straight, completely motionless, often in dress uniform, often in the sun. Minutes pass. Then, with no warning to anyone around them, they go pale, their knees buckle, and they fall straight down, sometimes face first. Because unlike a normal faint where people usually stumble or catch themselves, this kind of collapse can happen almost instantly. Military medical guidance actually teaches recruits specific countermeasures for exactly this reason. Subtly flexing the calf and thigh muscles, curling the toes inside their boots, rocking weight slightly between the feet. Small movements, invisible to an observer, that quietly keep the muscle pump alive without breaking formation. Here's the part that connects it all. Blood pressure isn't one fixed thing your body maintains automatically. It depends on how much blood is actually returning to your heart to be pumped back out. When pooling reduces that return, less blood comes back to the heart, so the heart pumps out less blood per beat. Blood pressure drops. And if it drops far enough, one organ in particular stops getting enough blood to function properly: your brain. Your brain is extraordinarily sensitive to blood flow. It has almost no reserve tank. It needs a constant, uninterrupted supply of oxygen and glucose delivered by blood every single second. Cut that supply even briefly, and consciousness is the first thing to go. This is actually the point of fainting. It isn't your body malfunctioning at random. It's a deliberate, ancient safety mechanism. When your brain detects falling blood pressure, it essentially triggers an emergency shutdown of consciousness, forcing your body to collapse to the ground. Once you're horizontal, gravity stops working against you. Blood no longer has to fight its way uphill to reach your brain, and circulation can recover within seconds. Fainting isn't the danger. Fainting is the fix. The actual danger is what you land on or fall into on the way down. Add heat to this equation and the whole system gets pushed much closer to failure. When you're hot, your body opens up blood vessels near your skin to release heat and cool you down. That's useful for temperature regulation, but it also means more blood volume is sitting in your skin and extremities instead of your core. Combine that with pooling in motionless legs, and you've doubled up on the same problem from two directions at once. Less blood coming back to the heart, and more of it diverted to the skin. This is exactly why parade ground faints spike dramatically on hot, sunny days, and almost never happen on cold ones. Heat doesn't cause the faint by itself. It just removes whatever buffer your circulatory system had left. Now here's where this stops being a one-off parade story and turns into something much bigger. Because soldiers standing still aren't the only people whose bodies fight this exact battle. There's an entire profession built around never letting it happen. Fighter pilots. When a jet pulls a hard turn at high speed, the acceleration forces, measured in Gs, do something similar to gravity, but dramatically more violent. Blood gets forced downward, away from the brain, pooling in the lower body in a fraction of a second instead of over minutes. Pilots call the result G-LOC, G-force-induced loss of consciousness. The exact same failure as a soldier fainting on a parade ground, just compressed into 2 or 3 seconds instead of 20 minutes, and at speeds where losing consciousness for even a moment can be fatal. The fix engineers came up with is almost poetic once you understand the biology. Pilots wear G-suits, tight inflatable garments wrapped around the legs and abdomen that squeeze automatically under high acceleration. They are mechanically doing the exact job your calf muscles do when you walk, squeezing the veins, forcing blood back upward, refusing to let it pool. A machine built to replace the one thing a motionless human body can't do for itself. And it's not just pilots and soldiers. Anyone whose job demands standing still, or nearly still, for hours at a time, lives with a milder version of this same fight every single day. Nurses on long hospital shifts, retail workers behind a till, surgeons standing over an operating table for 6, 7, 8 hours straight, teachers, security guards, assembly line workers. For most of them, it doesn't end in fainting. It ends in something slower. Repeated, daily pooling stretches the walls of the veins in the legs bit by bit, and over years, those veins can lose their shape permanently. That's a large part of where varicose veins actually come from. Not standing itself, but standing still, day after day, without the muscle pump ever getting switched back on. It's the long, slow version of the exact same physics that drops a soldier in under 30 minutes. This is also why so many professions that require standing recommend compression stockings. They're doing, in miniature and all day long, precisely what a G-suit does for a pilot in a 3-second turn. External pressure, substituting for the muscle pump the body isn't using. The countermeasure for the rest of us is almost absurdly simple by comparison. Move. Not a lot. You don't need to walk away or sit down the instant you feel the urge to shift. A few seconds of calf raises, gently rocking your weight heel to toe, or simply bending your knees slightly instead of locking them straight, is often enough to restart the muscle pump and keep blood circulating normally. Locking your knees fully straight is actually one of the worst positions possible. It doesn't just stop the muscle pump, it can also compress the vein running behind your knee, making the pooling even more severe. Soldiers are specifically trained to keep a very slight bend in the knees for exactly this reason. If you ever do start to feel lightheaded, dizzy, or your vision starts to narrow while standing still, the correct response isn't to fight it and stay rigid. It's the opposite. Sit down, or get your head lower than your heart immediately. You're not failing by doing that. You're doing exactly what your body was already trying to force you to do. This isn't some rare medical curiosity. It happens at weddings, graduations, military ceremonies, long church services, concerts, museum queues, Anywhere the social expectation is to stand still and not fidget. And every single time, from a parade ground to a fighter jet cockpit to a hospital operating room, it's the same simple physics working against the same simple biology. Gravity pulling blood down. A pump that only runs on movement. A brain with zero tolerance for interruption. So the next time you're stuck standing still for a long stretch, remember what's actually happening in your legs. It's not boredom making you want to shift your weight. It's not restlessness. It's your circulatory system quietly asking you for the one thing it needs to. Keep working. Movement